Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fantasy Fullback Dive, brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal, paving your way, acting as your lead blocker to fantasy glory, fantasy excellence, fantasy trophies, all that good stuff. I'm your host, Nat the Truth Jones. With me, as always, the Wolf of Roto Street himself. Wolf, how you doing? We got a Monday Night Football. I don't know if you'd call it a barn burner exactly, but I'm still looking forward to it. How about you?
Coming off a couple bad losses for the Bucs, you never know what could happen on Monday night against Danny Jones and those Giants. It's football. And we only got, 5 more regular season weeks left? 6 more? 7? I don't even know how long the fucking season is anymore.
It's long.
Yeah, it is long. So maybe we have a little bit more action. Only 4 more weeks of the regular fantasy season. After this week, 3 more. So it's getting damn close to crunch time. I'm doing good. 3rd place versus 4th place this week. Giving myself a little distance with a big win. I'm stoked about it. I know you can't say the same. You're pissed as soon as we logged on, and I understand why.
Yeah, my team generally is in the 150, 160 range, and I've got 85 so far. And I feel like I was lucky over half of those came from CMC and Mike Williams, and Mike Williams just came on 1 catch at the end of the game. I mean, it was terrible. It was like a group of mercenaries that I put together that didn't really feel like fighting for me. And it's just like, I hope everyone comes back. It's like, if I knew everybody was going to be back next week or something, I'd feel a lot better. I know that Kupp and Stafford will be back, but Antonio Brown, who the hell knows? Calvin Ridley, I'll probably never see again. Chris Carson, I mean,
he's done.
Yeah, probably. Eli Mitchell.
No, he had surgery. He is done.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least I can use that IR spot for somebody else.
Antonio Brown's actually wanted federally if this is a fake COVID card. They're saying they're going to charge him federally for it. That's right. The locker room. There it is.
So things are looking up. Things are looking up for me right now. Eli Mitchell.
Brutal.
Who the hell knows?
Brutal stuff.
Anyway, that's what's going on now. I don't feel good about it. Let's move on to anything that'll make me feel better than that. And it would be literally anything we could talk about would make me feel
the guy I would like. How about that, Wolfpack? Give us a thumbs up. Make him feel good. Get us out to more people. We will hit some Monday Night Football news real quick. If you have Monday Night Football sit starts, get them on in. We'll get to all your questions after we hit these risers, fallers, all that good stuff, hitting you with all the usage you need to know, all the lessons you need to know for Week 11. And that's pretty, as you said, we got to the top. That's pretty loaded. There's a lot of takeaways this week. A lot of interesting stats we didn't expect. So come on in. We'll cover those in about 40 or so minutes, hitting all the positions by positions. And then we'll get to all your questions, comments. As always, who won it for you, who lost it for you. Hit us up with everything you want, and we'll read it. We'll get pumped on air. Let's get ready for some Monday Night Football action, baby.
All right, let's talk about some Monday Night Football news. The Athletic's Greg Auman has said that the Bucs are, and this is in quotes, optimistic that Gronk will make and this is also in quotes, healthy return Monday night against the Giants. Obviously, if he plays, it's a huge deal. When he has played, he's been great. I'm wondering if they're actually just resting the guy at this point.
I don't think so. That's why I think they would if they had any concerns at all. And that's why I'm expecting they probably learned their lesson. You got to hope they learned their lesson last time, rushing him back. He made it through like a quarter and ruined fantasy lineups and certainly has now missed extended time because of it. I can't imagine they would do the same thing. I know they're on a losing skid, but still risking Gronk for the playoffs. I can't imagine they'd be doing that. So I expect them pretty close to full complement of snaps here. And Gronk is certainly in the big important packages near the red zone. I think he's scoring a touchdown tonight. If you're doing showdowns, things of that nature, Gronk is one of my favorite guys to target there, stacking him with Brady, Evans, all your usual weapons. He's a pretty good value on showdown, so I like him being a weapon. I also do like in showdown slates Tony, given that Sterling Shepard's out, he's going to get kicked into the slot there. Whenever he's played out of the slot, we've seen him get peppered. You never know with Jason Garrett. I've said a million times, other than Matt Nagy, those two are battling for who's the biggest idiot in the NFL on a weekly basis. And I wouldn't be shocked if Kyle Rudolph has another 30 targets over Tony tonight. Who knows? It's awful. It's useless in terms of Garrett. But if any night is going to be a streamable night for him, a bad Bucs defense, a pass funnel defense, I can see Tony having himself a big night for those of you in need of a Monday Night Football Hail Mary.
All right. And that, of course, was because Shepard's out. That makes it even more relevant. All right. Let's get into the quarterbacks, shall we? Because there's a lot of guys for us to talk about. This was a weird week in football, man. Jalen Hurts, 13 out of 24 for $147. No turnovers. That's worth something. The Eagles won 40-29. He also had 18 carries. There's the Konami upside that the Wolf always talks about. 18 carries, 69 additional yards. And the stat here, I mean, that's an extremely good game. I went against Hurts this week, and he totally destroyed me. But all right, let's talk about first 15 starts and let's compare Hurts to Lamar Jackson, because I know this is a comparison that interested you. And when I saw it, it interested me a lot too. Essentially, they have thrown for exactly the same number of yards. Hurts has thrown for 3 more touchdowns. He has 1 less turnover, and they've achieved basically exactly the same number of first downs. So they're basically the same guy through 15 starts. That's really impressive, because the eye test or just whatever pops up in my brain, I think of Lamar as being substantially better. And maybe that's not the case. What do you think?
No, I'm with you. He's doing everything the same. Certainly as a runner with 3 rushing touchdowns this last week. That's kind of what buried you. No passing touchdowns, but 3 on the ground. Yeah. That's just why you love the guy. As a fantasy product, he's now been top 10 in all but 2 weeks on the season. He's the only quarterback that can say that. He's had a couple down games, but even those have been buoyed by the fact that he's got over 50 rushing yards since this kind of new offensive philosophy, Nick Sirianni, where the Eagles are kind of making themselves a little feisty over here, maybe making some noise out there in the NFC. It's one of those things where like every team is in the hunt, it seems. If you're below 500, you're still in the hunt, which is just crazy this time of the year, given 7 teams make the playoffs. But they're looking like a team, a pretty good feisty defense right now. A running game. They're kind of that exact formula, the team you don't want to run into. I like what I'm seeing here. I wonder what they're going to do with 3 first-round picks next year. Do you commit to Hurts? Do you just surround him with a ton of talent? Do you go out for your next franchise guy if you don't believe in him? He's certainly making the case when they're now calling the plays right to his strength. That's really been the difference for me. Yes, he's been good in fantasy all year, but now the Eagles are actually good as a team, not just fantasy-wise, but real-life-wise, given that they're crafting this offense around the run game, certainly around Hurts' unique skill set. He makes plays on the legs that you compare to Lamar Jackson, that's pretty much the only other quarterback that has the movement skills of this guy. It's very intriguing. I hope they commit to him at least for another couple seasons, and let's see what he does, because fantasy-wise, the fireworks are very real.
If they don't, somebody else will.
Absolutely. Speaking of Konami upside, Mr. Cam Newton did return with 46 yards on the ground and a TD. He also threw 2 touchdowns through the air, 189 yards. Even with only 189 yards passing, he still had over 26 fantasy points. Certainly made us look solid for making him our QB of the week. It did not end up being a split. It was kind of this, this rumbling that Cam Newton and PJ Walker would be splitting snaps. I don't think PJ Walker touched the field. So it looks like from here on out, it is Cam Newton's job. He has 2 easy matchups in a row. The fantasy playoffs do get tougher for this guy, but ultimately, given that you're relying on the legs, the rushing touchdowns, he still has every bit amount of upside. Looked very, very solid. I think he's a definite QB1 moving forward.
I agree, and he did look good, but you also saw some of the Cam Newton limitations in that game. Like,
of course.
You saw him. I mean, you were like, oh, right. That's why things didn't work out. Anyway.
I do think he threw the ball better than he did at any point last year, though.
Agree. Yeah. He made one. The pass to CMC was a great pass. It was really good pass. Bro. No, and I definitely believe he's the best option they have. Like, no question about it. He should be starting. Aaron Rodgers, 23 out of 33 for 385. He had 1 or 2 touchdowns. I don't remember which, but they lost to the Vikings. He added 21 rushing yards on 2 attempts, and he really says his toe hurts a lot.
Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns actually on that.
Oh, he did?
I got to put him on here just for the line. He has something worse than turf toe. Shut the fuck up. Like, he's my QB. Love what he did for me this weekend. Awesome stuff. Him and Adams, that stack, when it hits big. They combined for like 70 points for me. It was gorgeous. I love
We should make a list of things worse than turf toe.
Yeah, exactly. What a piece of dirt to have this great game. And like, yeah, I'm playing with worse than just shut up.
Oh my gosh, my toe is killing me.
Exactly. He's such a little attention whore, but either way, still a great game. You love to get reminded of his ceiling, that if he is playing hurt, and he certainly it's I'm not going to say the guy's healthy by any means, but to do this when you're not healthy just reminds you of the ceiling he and both Adams have on a weekly basis. Just that throw to MVS was lovely at the end of the game. What a great game. I was hoping that one would continue to roll. But yeah, loved everything that Rodgers did this week, and just a great reminder. Any given week, he can dominate. You'd want to see that from Russell Wilson. Holy crap. 14 of 26 for 207 scoreless yards. Yet another dud. We were hopeful that it was just like the shaking off the rust. He's been gone for a while. And this is the one thing that pisses me off about it is all the hype. Doctors have never seen such a miraculous recovery. The hype videos, his finger is beyond human, the way this is turned around for him. And this is what you come out and fucking do? Oh, just abysmal as a fantasy QB. You certainly, we had him as our lower QB last week. and that panned out. We had some pretty bad calls and as general, but our QB position, we were pretty spot on this last week. He sucked, and I cannot trust this guy at all moving forward. And it's certainly hurting guys like DK. Lockett had an okay day, 100 yards, but still, it's just, you thought Geno Smith was a huge downgrade. He might be an upgrade at this point.
I think it's about time to pack it in for the Seahawks for the year.
Oh, yeah, they're done.
Dak Prescott. This is an interesting stat line. 36 out of 40. That's a 90% completion rate for $189 and 2 picks. And the Cowboys week 11 lost to Chiefs. I think they lost 19-9.
Awful.
I mean, it's awful. I mean, it's like good for you completing all these passes, but if you look at the yards you got based on the attempts, I mean, he's averaging like 4.5 yards an attempt. That's terrible.
Awful. Exactly. If like you just said, 90%. If I told you Dak completed 90% of his passes,
I'd say the Cowboys scored 40 points. Probably.
Exactly. Against the Chiefs, nonetheless.
Right.
I don't know if the Chiefs are sneaky good on defense again.
I think the Chiefs are sneaky good, period.
They're coming around. And this ended up actually unfolding exactly like we said.
I know.
6.5 over under. We were laughing and we're like, this is going to be one of the worst games of the week. It actually ended up being an okay game, but scoring wise,
I honestly think I said, watch it be 10-6, which was pretty close.
You weren't too far off. That was pretty damn close. That sucked. I imagine Dak will rebound, but given that CeeDee Lamb and Cooper are both going to be out on Thanksgiving Day, it has to give you pause. The Raiders' run D is so abysmal. I think we're going to get a Zeke outing on Thursday, and maybe, just maybe, you bench Dak. We'll see how the QB rankings shake out. Of course, I'll be live on Wednesday. Different times this week, though. We'll go over our schedule at the end. A little bit different because of Thanksgiving, as I'm sure you guys know and understand. On the other side of that Rodgers shootout, Kirk Cousins did have another banger, 341 and 3 TDs. He can still get it done every now and again. A reminder that if it looks like it's going to be a positive script game, this guy can get it going. 34-31 win. I think the Vikings, similar to the Eagles, a team that you don't really want to run into right now. You're used to Cousins blowing these types of games. And honestly, he almost did at the end with that pick. Rodgers would have gone right down the field had they thrown that interception. Still, solid game. And number one weapon, Justin Jefferson. Whew, what a day that I can't wait to talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor, although the real story in this game is the other side of the ball. Tyrod Taylor completed 14 out of 24 for 107 yards. It's pretty much Houston Texan quarterback numbers. But he also added 6 carries for 28 and 2 scores. And that was more than enough to beat the absolutely inept Tennessee Titans. We talked last show. We were talking about who's the best team in the league, blah, blah. We don't know who's the best team in the AFC. And we're like, oh, the Tennessee's got 8-2. And we both were like, no, we don't believe in Tennessee.
Nope.
Although I certainly thought they'd win this game.
Yeah, right. I didn't believe in them, but I believed in them to beat the Texans. Holy crap.
I believed in them enough to pick up Ryan Tannehill on waivers and play him.
I mean, I kind of want to give you the honors. He's the last QB on the list, but okay. I want you to be able to read this one and share your opinions on Ryan Tannehill's performance. All
right, why don't you read Simeon and Hill, and then I'll close us out with Tannehill.
All righty, fair enough. It's just a meh game from Trevor Simeon. 214, did throw 3 TDs in that garbage time, but 2 picks, looked awful. What I imagine they just followed this game up. Nick Underhill came out and said performance was bad enough that's fair to wonder if they'll make a change at the position. Taysom Hill the next day gets a 4-year, $95 million extension, even though he didn't touch the ball. What are you waiting for, Sean Payton? Why are you paying this guy so much money and then he doesn't touch the freaking ball? I don't know. This to me is a sign they might be turning things over. And if so, we've talked about this at length. Was the QB6 across his 4 starts last year, averaging 21 fantasy points per game. He was really just a very legit fantasy product because of the Konami upside, that rushing leg points that he would still be great for. I imagine they turn this thing over, and on Thursday night he'd get the Bills. Tough matchup, you'd think.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Who knows what's happened to that defense? What a unreal performance. We'll talk about him in just a second. But yeah, this is just of note how bad Simeon was, and maybe we'll get Taysom Hill rejoining that low-end QB1, mid-range QB1 even, based on his numbers last year. Could be interesting to see for sure.
All right. Interesting is another way to describe Ryan Tannehill's performance yesterday. 35 out of 52 for 323, which is like, oh, okay. Touchdown.
52 pass attempts against the Texans. If I told you that happened, you'd probably say a top 3 fantasy quarterback for the week.
I would probably say that, but I would be wrong. He did have 1 touchdown, and it was picked off 4 times. 4 times. It was just terrible. Like, and the note under it says, in fairness to Tannehill, with AJ Brown out, he was throwing to players who he literally had to double check, understood, and audible pre-snap. There's no in fairness to Tannehill. Like, yeah, his team's depleted. He still got picked off 4 times by the Texans.
Texans.
But I mean, it was just terrible, just absolutely awful. This is why we don't believe in the Titans. This is why, even though Tannehill can do some good stuff every now and then, we know he's not like elite or even necessarily knocking on the door of it. It was garbage. Made me so mad. I mean,
it's awful. It was infuriating. I know you texted me at like 8 p.m. or whatever, and I could just feel your rage behind the text. I'm sure
it was just a tough day.
Absolutely. And Wolfpack, we're moving on to running backs, but if you could, please consider giving us that thumbs up as we get to the next position.
Just
rave about this unbelievable performance. But thanks again for everyone being here. Please consider again giving that like so we can get out to more people. Running backs, we got to kick it off with Jonathan Taylor. My good God, 32 carries, 185 yards, not 1, 2, or 3, not 4, 5 touchdowns for this absolute monster. And it just the underlying usage, we talked about him last week, 82% of the snaps, he has officially become the true and utter workhorse. More so, though, the red zone volume, 62 red zone opportunities on the season. The next closest player is at 41. He has seen 21 carries since week 4 inside the 10, not just the red zone.
50%. That's 50% more than the next person.
Crazy.
That's
absolutely
nuts.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insanity. And that 53.4, that's the 4th highest running back performance since the start of 2011. Doug Martin, Charles. It's crazy that Doug Martin's on that list, but Doug Martin, Jamal Charles, and Alvin Kamara are the
it was a shades of Jamal Charles game, I thought.
Hey, remember that game against the Raiders? My God.
I do. It won me a playoff game.
It was it was week 15 of the fantasy playoffs. When we were at Kip, Manny Lopez had him against me. And I faced him in 3 out of 5 leagues. I was like a dominant force that year. One of my best fantasy seasons. It ran into the buzzsaw in every single league. It was brutal.
I had him against my buddy Johnny Goodtimes, who I played this week in the playoffs. And I remember the game was over. Like, our playoff game was over in like 12 minutes.
That's all it took.
It was great.
That's all it took. And yeah, Jonathan Taylor, there's not much else to say. Over 50 fantasy points. You must have won your matchup if you had him, right? Unless you went against.
Right. This guy, Austin Echoler, 11 carries, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns. He got 5 first downs or touchdowns, 6 receptions, 65 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Not too bad. So, I mean, that's a pretty packed stat sheet, right? I mean, any other week, this is the guy. And I mean, he was still like competitive, right? I mean, what an amazing performance by that guy in a game where the Chargers put up 41 points, something like that, 44. I forget. It was a lot of points for a team that needed him. And Echoler was just completely electric.
And I have Echoler and Herbert in my WEI Boston experts league stacked up on Sunday night. Needed I thought I was done. I was like, this game's over. Whatever. Bam. Those two, just a beautiful performance from them. When they click big. So that was awesome to see against a good Pittsburgh defense. Depleted last night, but still beautiful. Your guy, Christian McCaffrey. If you had any doubt with this guy was worth the number 1 pick, I mean, yeah, maybe Taylor, maybe even Echoler now are in that conversation for the rest of the season, but just this is exactly what you were hoping for. 10 carries, 59 yards, 4.7 yards after contact per carry. That's insane. But then what you always sign up for, 7 receptions, 60 yards and a TD, playing 90% of snaps, 90% of routes, 10 of the 11 running back carries, 8 targets, a 30% share. You thought Cam Newton might hurt him? No, this was beautiful. This was lovely. Just everything you'd ever want to see. 90% running back rushes, 30% target share. That is just the typical elite. This is why we love you, Christian McCaffrey. Thanks again for coming.
A.J. Dillon in Aaron Jones's absence got a lot of work, 75% of the snaps, 51% of routes, 11 out of the 15 running back carries that the Packers had. And he got 6 targets, which was good for an 18% share. 11 rushes, 53 yards. Not great, but I mean, almost 5 yards a carry. And I mean, getting a lot more carries than anybody else. And 6 receptions for 44 yards. And that was on only 6 targets. So he's catching everything that came his way. I would say a good, not great game, but encouraging. The fact that Rodgers was hitting people just all over the place with touchdowns seemed to kind of cap his usage a little bit. But I would say if you're an A.J. Dillon owner, you probably leave this feeling, fairly encouraged, right?
Absolutely. Moving forward, your 73% rush share was the 2nd highest of a running back for Green Bay. 19% target share was the 4th highest for a back this season. Very encouraging numbers for as long as Aaron Jones is out. And it was only supposed to be a week or 2. I imagine just this last week, they have the bye. Then I think we get Aaron Jones again. But you got one more week of monster usage. I wouldn't be shocked if this flips next week and you see A.J. Dillon also fall in the end zone twice. That's really the only thing missing from an otherwise great day. DeAndre Swift, a lovely performance to see because Jamal Williams was back. And yet even still, we had 73% of the snaps go to DeAndre Swift, 80% of the routes, 14 of 21 running back carries, 4 targets, a 17% share, and he did some real damage with it, racking up 136 yards and a touchdown in addition to 3 catches. Just a great day against a pretty solid defense. And when you had Tim Boyle at QB, there's no respect given. There shouldn't have been, and I certainly can't imagine there was on the NFL game plan there. And for Swift to still do this, that monstrous 57-yard rushing touchdown, he just looks so good every time he touches the ball. And just another reminder, even with Williams back, this guy is a locked-in RB1. Don't ever sweat that. Even with Boyle at QB, locked-in RB1. Don't sweat it. The guy's a monster.
Speaking of RB1/workhorse backs, Nick Chubb back off the COVID list, 22 carries, 130 yards, 2 catches, 14 yards in the air, and 1 touchdown. We were wondering about cheese nibbling because Dearness Johnson had looked so good. Chubb's 22 carries dwarfed Johnson's 5, so there was not a lot of cheese being nibbled there. Ugly game against the Lions that they did win. If you're a Chubb owner, you feel pretty good.
Absolutely. 30 and 22 points in his last 2, both the season highs for Chubb. 8% target share, nearly 9% on the week. That's a pretty big difference given that he was at 3% across his first 6 games. It's not much, but it's honest work, and it's important.
It's honest work.
The matter means, though, Kareem Hunt is expected to potentially return in Week 12 against the Ravens. That would, of course, put a big cheese nibble. Dearness might not be nibbling, but we know the mouth.
Someone's nibbling, though, right?
He's going to be nibbling, no doubt about it. Joe Mixon, what's left to say about this guy as the round 2 running back steal? 30 carries, 123 yards, 77 of them coming after contact. What a beast. And 2 touchdowns. That's 3 straight games with 2 or more touchdowns. A touchdown in 7 straight games, at least 1. Guy's been a touchdown monster, yardage monster, usage, everything. Everything checks the boxes for Joe Mixon. And where those receivers are constantly up and down, and it's tough to figure out that pass game, the one steady Joe Mixon is a dominant RB1 this year. Love to see it.
The Chicago running back scene, not the sexiest backfield in the league or even close to it, but David Montgomery is back to his full-time role, and he has a weak schedule coming up, or so the rumor goes. 14 rushes for 54 yards in the Bears' Week 11 loss to the Ravens, which they appeared to be winning the entire time until the very end, and then just found, God, man, only the Bears lose shit like that. They're amazing, them and the Vikings. Although the Vikings won this week. If you're interested in cheese nibbling in that backfield, Khalil Herbert, who had looked pretty good, rushed 1 time for 0 yards. So this guy's done, basically.
100%. Yeah, 93.3% of the running back rushes. And as you mentioned, the schedule does get a lot softer. So even though the production wasn't quite there, this is one of those ones you look at as a positive long-term. If this is the type of usage he's going to get and the matchups get easier, you love to see it. We did see Antonio Gibson started horrendous. 8 carries, didn't do anything. But then he ultimately turned things around, getting over 76 rushing yards on 14 carries in the second half, ended up getting over almost 100 yards. Wasn't great, wasn't gorgeous, but it's been 2 straight games now. He has been the significant, over 60% of the snaps, well ahead of J.D. McKissick. After that was a situation very much in flux week to week. It does seem like Gibson, even if the game flow isn't quite perfect, he is going to be seeing more and more work. Solid stuff for him. Not great, but definitely a step in the right direction.
There's another guy who's been solid. James Conner, 21 carries, 62 yards, only 3 yards a carry. Not very good, but the 21 carries is significant. Oh, yeah. Got a touchdown off those. Also had 5 catches on 6 targets for another 37 yards. I want to call him a plotter. He hasn't really seemed like a plotter at times this year. Those are kind of plotting numbers right there. But, this guy's a must start every week.
Oh, yeah. 5 straight games with a touchdown. He's now up to 12 rushing scores and 13 total TDs on the year. And we still have a lot of time to go. He might get to 20 total touchdowns on the season. Yeah. And it's just great to see this happen. A lot of it was like, oh, geez, you must play without Murray, and that offense takes a step back. Well, Colt McCoy, really, he over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He really kept that engine going. The 5 catches and 37 yards as well. James Conner's a monster. You got to start him every week, even when Chase Edmonds is back, but especially right now while he's out. Intriguingly, maybe not intriguingly, this is just a nightmare. The Bills running back situation We had a little while where Zach Moss was dependable, and then maybe Moss or Singletary week to week, and now it's a three-headed, disgusting nightmare. Matt Breida has led this team in fantasy points in back-to-back weeks, most recently going for 51 yards on 5 carries, 16 yards on his lone catch, and that was enough to lead the team in backfield points. That's really all you need to know, but 45% of the backfield rushes went to him. Meanwhile, Zach Moss, 3 carries for 5 yards, bordering on cuttable at this point, maybe not even bordering. I think you can get rid of him. Similar to Singletary, 3 carries, 26 yards, and 3 catches for 26 yards as well. So also okay, but Breida, again, leading the team in fantasy points. He himself might actually be startable, but you look at the snaps, 38% Singletary, 32% Breida, 29% Moss. So Moss on the odd man looking in here at this point. And maybe Breida's worth a pickup, but I don't know. This backfield's just a mess. Disgusting.
Yeah, don't touch it. Miles Sanders, he looked pretty good in his first game back, while Jordan Howard actually sprained his knee and will not be going next week. So he's going to get a chance to build on that. 16 rushes, 94 yards. It's pretty solid. It was about 6 yards a carry. Oh, yeah. He did fumble, and it was a costly fumble. It resulted in a Saints touchdown. And honestly, I thought he fumbled another time, but they called it back. But anyway, I mean, not bad. Eagles got the win anyway. Sanders, pretty encouraging debut after his injury.
Absolutely. And Jordan Howard, as you mentioned that injury, he was out carrying Sanders 9 to 8 at halftime, certainly after the fumble. You wonder if he hadn't gotten hurt, what would have happened to Sanders? But they did go back to the guy. He had some really timely chain-moving rushes against a really good rush defense. Now he gets, as you mentioned, the Giants coming up, and then the godforsaken Jets run D in his next 2. And just the schedule as a whole is a complete cakewalk. So he could be a nice, viable, high-end RB2 moving forward. Maybe the single biggest riser of the week and also biggest faller in that breath. Clyde Edwards-Helaire dominated the work here. 12 carries, 63 yards, and a TD. 3 avoided tackles, 2 catches, and 13 receiving yards. Just looking like he never missed any time. Fully healthy. Probably as spry as I think he's ever looked. He saw 70% of the backfield touches. That's his highest since week 2. So fresh off injury, in pregame, the tweets were like, we don't know how big he's going to be worked in. Darrell Williams is still the guy. And I guess Darrell Williams, he did play more snaps, 36 to 32. He ran more routes, 25 to 16.
How come you don't get fantasy points for snaps?
No, exactly. Point per snap leagues still not out there at this point. Helaire did see 14 opportunities compared to just 8 for Williams, who just fizzled into the background here. 5 carries, 15 yards, 1 catch for 11. Borderline droppable right off the bat at this as the type of usage moving forward. Helaire, meanwhile, right back into lineups moving forward at this rate as well. Yeah, I mean, that was probably the biggest single flop of a backfield this week to see that flip immediately with CEH back.
I was surprised, and not in a good way. Yeah. Not like, oh, what a great birthday present surprise. Yeah. Right. There's other bad surprises. That was one of them. And personally, I think it's the wrong call, but we'll see. Andy Reid, for some reason, they take his opinion more seriously than mine. Titans RBs, their backfield. I can't believe we're even going to waste time talking about
just
this.
To remind you guys.
We're going to. You know what? We're just going to remind you why you should avoid the Titans backfield. Diontae Foreman, 7 rushes for 35 yards. Dontrell Hilliard, also 7 rushes for 35 yards. Is any of that getting you excited?
No, but 8 catches for him on 10 targets.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
I think the reason to put this on there is there's a ton of Donta Foreman stretch run league winner. He sees 8 opportunities, the fewest on the team. 11 went to Peterson. 17 went to fucking Hilliard, who even knew who Hilliard was ahead of this game.
I still don't.
I don't either. He played the Jeremy McNichols role. He did see about 20% target share. That was pretty intriguing. But it just reminds you, since Henry's injury, no running back has seen more than 50% of the total rushes in a single game. It went Peterson as the leader, then it went Foreman, then it went Hilliard, as our good friend John Daigle of the podcast says, Godspeed. If you really want to go into this backfield, Godspeed to you. Who gives a shit? It's awful. Disgusting. Ty Johnson, he didn't do much, but he did get all the snaps after Mike Carter, who's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. So that's a guy that could be a viable addition again. I think he totaled 25 yards on the day. Nothing special. It is of note that without Mike White, the White Lightning, who targeted running backs 39, 40, and 37% of the time in his 3 starts, Flacco only targeted the position 12% of the time. So it doesn't mean that's going to be the case every single week by any means, but certainly it looked like you'd always have a locked-in high running back piece of the aerial pie. not a guarantee, and certainly not a guarantee. And that was with Michael Carter out there, one of the better pass catching backs right now in the league. That's pretty sketchy. So yeah, Ty Johnson, definitely one of the more intriguing waiver wire ads, but not like, it's not somebody that at this point of the year you want to blow all your fab on. There's somebody more valuable at some point, right? I don't know. It's still gross. It's a gross situation.
Thanks a lot, Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs, 9 rushes for 37 yards, adding 5 receptions for 24 yards, and he was targeted 7 times. That's a season high. The only reason that this stat line, which is otherwise unimpressive in a game that the Raiders lost, is that Kenyon Drake had traditionally been the lead pass-catching target out of the backfield for the Raiders, and he seemed to cede those duties to Jacobs. So Drake, you'd almost have to think, I don't know, maybe you don't drop him right this second, but if this trend is anything, if it continues, there's really no reason to keep Kenyon Drake around.
No, and honestly, we're still a couple bye-week crunches here with only 2 targets. That was the whole point for value for Kenyon Drake. If that's going to go to Jacobs now, I think you can cut him right away. I have to activate Miles Sanders from the IR. My first man down is Drake. He's getting sent to the trash heap where he belongs from whence he came. Mark Ingram, 16 carries, 88 yards, 6 catches, 25 additional yards, a nice 22 touches there. He has now seen 78% of the snaps, 30 of 36 running back carries, 40 of 47 running back touches, 15 of 16 targets, nearly 20% target share since Kamara went down. Yeah, he gets the Bills, but if Kamara misses that game, that usage keeps him locked in to a low-end RB1 workload. And again, the Bills, 5 touchdowns on the ground. I don't know that this is a matchup we really have to avoid anymore. Big day for Ingram, and just again, clear-cut fringe RB1 with Kamara out.
Ravens backfield, we see Devontae Freeman with a huge tick up and Latavius Murray with a huge tick down. Freeman went 16 rushes for 49 yards and a score. He also had 6 catches for 31 additional yards. Meanwhile, Latavius Murray, 10 rushes for only 32 yards, 2 catches for 1 yard. You'd have to say, I mean, again, this is another backfield I'm not crazy about. It's just too uncertain, too much going on. Lamar Jackson's nibbling too much of the backfield cheese, the ground pie. But if you're looking for a guy right now, it seems like it's not Latavius Murray. It is Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, 22 touches compared to 12 for Murray. That does tell me this. He's taken a bit of this backfield over, especially with Tyson Williams, 0 touches. So he's completely erased. So a two-headed nightmare and a guy that's getting the clear-cut work. I think Freeman is a fringe every week starter at this point. Over his last 5 games, he's averaged nearly 14 PPR points per game compared to just 2.7 PPR points per game to start the year. I do think Freeman moving forward is going to be ranked as my top 24-ish running backs, a low-end RB2 each and every week because Roman's scheme is that productive. Seahawks backfield, it is just disgusting. 10 carries went to frickin' Alex Collins. He did nothing with him. Another sub 5-point day. DJ Dallas did get the score. Just reminding you that his backfield's a nightmare. Rashad Penny was going to be heavily involved, but guess what always happens with Rashad Penny? He gets hurt the first time he touches the rock. What a useless piece of shit. Just a gross backfield. The only reason this backfield was ever really valuable was because Russell Wilson kept such an intriguing offense that generated tons of scoring opportunities. Clearly, that's not the case anymore. This is one of the most boring. There's nothing fun. It used to be like the Seahawks were on TV and you're like, okay, I get a fun game. I'm going to get do some dazzling. Not anymore. I hate this team. It's so bad. I want them to just be done for the year. I'm sick of them.
They are terrible to watch. And I agree with you. If you'd said before the season, what were some of the most fun teams to watch, they would have probably been top 5 for me. With Malcolm Brown on IR and Salvin Ahmed, a healthy scratch, all of a sudden that leaves the backup for Myles Gaskin as Duke Johnson. And there is no better recipe to get great usage is if the guy breathing down your neck is Duke Johnson. Okay. Gaskin got 23 rushes for 89 yards. Like, okay, but the usage, that's great. 3 catches for 7 yards. Oh, that's pitiful, but he did get a touchdown on those. Meanwhile, Johnson had 4 carries, but Gaskin completely dominated the backfield. He has not put up huge numbers, but his usage has been incredible, especially in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, 83% rushing share, 87 and 82% rush share across those 3 weeks, 15, 5, and 11% target share. One of the clearest 3-down backs, even though he might be the worst starter of running backs in the league, still getting it done. I don't even know why we put the Texans on here. Burkhead had 18 carries, so he clearly dominated the work. He mustered a robust 40 yards on those. As a team, the backfield of the Texans had 32 carries, and they turned that into 56 rushing yards. Just a disgusting hideous. Go throw up. Pretty gross as well. Jeff Wilson to round out running
Your
backs.
boy.
19 carries. My boy. Did see 19 carries. Like to see that. 50 yards. Hated to see that. Pretty useless on that front. 1 catch for 8 yards. Dominated in terms of snaps. He had 32 compared to 17 and 10 for Trey Sermon and Deebo Samuel, their best running back on the roster. What do you have? Like 80 yards rushing was amazing. But ultimately, those 17 snaps for Sermon, 8 of them came when they were up 27-3. They were just kind of milking the clock. So it was the Jeff Wilson show. Should we have an injury to Eli Mitchell that lingers? Wilson's the only other running back in addition to Mitchell to see 65% of the rushes and 10% target share. So he is a pretty much locked in every down back. Didn't do a whole lot with that. I still would trust him, though, week to week, given how good this backfield is. If he's the lead guy, I'm not done with him yet.
We're about to go into wide receivers. And before we do, please give us a like. We deserve it. We just hit a ton of running backs. And you know,
pretty
it was
quick,
it was like dancing there. That was good stuff. Justin Jefferson, a guy you alluded to earlier, said you really wanted. You want to talk about him? You said you wanted to talk about Justin Jefferson.
I just love what we're seeing. I think he might be a top 3 receiver, to be honest, in the league right now. Gets 8 catches, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, 16.3 average depth of target. Love the deep ball usage. He is now, since they said they wanted to give him the ball more 2 weeks ago, racked up 21 targets, a 30% target share. Before it was just at 23% target share. So this seems like it's here to stay. The team is clearly better off when they're peppering him in, 43-yard catch and run, 56-yard reception where he nearly got the touchdown. I mean, this guy could have had a 3-touchdown day. That's how sexy it was. Just immediate ascension. And this is one of the worst play calling offenses in the league. I can only imagine what this guy would do with the right play caller, but beautiful to see this type of usage. You got to think they continue to dial him up 10 plus times every single week, given that type of production.
Imagine if you were playing for the quarterback that's throwing to this guy. Devontae Adams, 7 catches, $115, 2 touchdowns. He was in the slot a little over 40% of the time. This was on 8 targets. He went for 37 yards on the first play of the game, and it just kind of seemed like from there they did whatever they wanted to. Hit him a bunch. Could have hit him even more, I'm sure, if they wanted to, but Rodgers spread it around like crazy. This is kind of the production we expected from this guy when you had him at the top of your wide receiver list, unquestioned, before the season.
100%. Maybe the biggest story of the week at wide receiver and probably the entire NFL, Elijah Moore, 8 catches, 141, and a TD. Dominant performance. But what was bigger than that, we've seen him putting up these late game TDs, a 62-yarder score this week. What was bigger is the fact that he actually had a full-time role. It's been a long time coming here. 80% of snaps, 81% of routes, 11 targets, a nearly 30% target share there. 35 routes on the 43 dropbacks. You just love to see that full-time role for a guy that clearly was so deserving of it. Had been the wide receiver 5 in his last 4 games. Now he's up to the wide receiver 1 since week 8, since Zach Wilson got hurt. Let's just hope Zach Wilson never returns because he's really the only time that Moore hasn't produced. To be in that full-time role and dominate the way he is, it kind of validates. What sucks is I dropped him everywhere I had him. I was like, fuck it. This quarterback situation's so bad. As good as Moore is probably going to be, this isn't the year to have him. And look at him now. He's going to be a league winner down the stretch. Loved everything about this game. And nothing feels fluky because of how talented this guy is.
This guy's an elite guy, too, in my opinion. Diontae Johnson, He's like a vacuum cleaner out there. He's doing it without much help in the receiving core, in my opinion. 7 catches, 101 yards, 1 touchdown. And they make a big deal about the kind of goal line fade that he caught where he had to catch it, get his feet down. It was a nice catch. I didn't think that was his best catch of the day. I thought his best. Do you remember? Did you see the one that Ben just threw? He was not open at all. And he just kind of buzzed it in and the guy caught it here. And they're like, oh, what a throw by Roethlisberger. And I was like, no, what a catch by Johnson.
Right.
That was a throw that probably should have been picked off. He wasn't open. So anyway, I'm just very impressed with Diontae Johnson.
He's dominant every single week. He's actually seen 13 exact targets 5 times. He's only been under dead 10 looks twice on the year. Volume. It's king, especially when they have that rapport. Those types of catches, as you say, don't happen with every receiver and quarterback. But, man, they have such a high level of trust and such chemistry. It's beautiful. Lovely performance from Brandon Aiyuk. I think he's now returned.
He's back.
I think it's official every week starter status. 7 receptions, 85 yards, and a score, nearly 30% threat rate. on that, 31% target share on the day. He is out of the doghouse. He played nearly all the snaps. And with Debo getting so many backfield looks, it looks like now that Aiyuk might be like the sneaky wide receiver one. I know Debo's the number one weapon in this passing game, the running game. But if they're going to give him that many backfield snaps moving forward, we've now seen 25, 20, 21, and 36% target share across the last 4 games for Brandon Aiyuk. That's beautiful stuff. I think he can be right back into your lineups moving forward without question.
Jaylen Waddle, 8 out of 9 targets, 65 yards. And then he added a 1-yard rushing touchdown, which I'm sure had to piss Myles Gaskin owners off so much when that happened in the Dolphins' Week 11 win over the Jets, which was a little closer than kind of I thought it should have been. Anyway, Waddle seems to be penciled in as a, pretty easy start as well. I mean, he's been averaging, I think, 7 catches a game over his last 6. That's not nothing.
No, not nothing at all. In fact, JJ Zachariason, one of our favorite guys, we cite a lot of the stats he comes up with, compared him to like Miami's version of Diontae Johnson because he's seeing 10 plus targets. I know only 9 this week, but also saw carries. He's just such a great, dependable, high usage guy. And he is now, I believe, once I double checking, I think he's up to the wide receiver 5 since week 6, since he really took over as a full-time player. So all these rookies, I mean, we're looking at Elijah Moore as the wide receiver 1 since week 8, Jaylen Waddle, the wide receiver 5 since week 6, Jamar Chase, the wide receiver 5 on the season, Devonta Smith, the wide receiver 7 across his last 4 games. This is a great rookie class. We knew it was going to be, but to this level is pretty insane. So just great. Another just feather in the cap of this great receiving class. Moving now on to Mike Williams, who, as you mentioned, had that big, long catch towards the end of the game. But otherwise, that really saved what was going to be another lackluster day. 5 catches on just 6 targets, 97 yards and a TD. So at the end of the day, I can't complain too much. It's good fantasy numbers. But the fact remains, we saw Keenan Allen see 12 catches, 12 targets, 9 catches, remaining that every down vacuum. He has seen since their bye, 48 targets went to Keenan Allen, 22 went to Mike Williams. So it's a very clear cut. I'm the alpha now. Keenan Allen, it's what it's always been. Mike Williams will get a few more big plays here and there, given it is a better offense for his skill set, but he's not much higher than what he's been in the past as just a big play threat. Again, 6 targets, just another discouraging. Great that he performed on him. 53-yard catch and run touchdown, but still, that was a blown coverage. It was going to be a bad game again if that didn't happen.
Yeah, and I mean, the state of my team, I have no choice but to keep rolling him out there. So it's just going to be punishing for yours truly. A guy who also had a lousy game, Brandon Cooks, targeted 3 times, caught 2, 18 yards, and had a season-low 13% target share. I mean, now, terrible that at face value, obviously terrible. If I told you that Brandon Cooks was going to have those numbers, what chances would you have thought that the Texans would kind of dominate the Titans over the course of the game?
We cited the fact that their running game had 50 yards on 33 carries. So if I showed those stats in addition, those 2 stats right there, and Tannehill threw for 323 yards in the air. Yeah, exactly. Right. I forget exactly what it was. Jared Smoller, one of our favorite accounts as well, he tweeted out, I believe it was the Texans had 120 total yards of offense and the Titans had 420 and the Titans lost.
And they won. They lost easily. Right.
Abysmal. Darnell Mooney, first game without Allen Robinson on the year. He dominated 121 yards on 5 catches and a TD, 16 targets. Holy shit. So wasn't all that efficient on 16, but 16 targets is 16 targets, and he dominated nearly 50% target share, 48.5, 23 PPR points. Again, not the most efficient day, but that'll do if he's getting that type of volume. And it's looking like Allen Robinson, who did not practice today, could miss the Thursday Thanksgiving game. Detroit, Darnell Mooney, probably a lineup lock coming in for you on Thursday, will be a popular DraftKings play, and deservedly so. What a beastly game for him.
Terry McLaurin had a big game against a pretty stout Carolina defensive back, cornerbacks, whatever, defensive backfield. 5 out of 7 targets, 103 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, that's got to be extremely encouraging. His big knock, of course, is that he seems like a pretty fragile guy out there. But when he's healthy and things are clicking, he's a serious threat, and he proved it.
Yeah, 100%. And Mr. Heineken just looking pretty good. Solid day all around for that offense. Good to see McLaurin. You hope this, it's just been up and down for him. You want to see him get some stability here. And now we got to talk about this Cowboys offense, given their wide receiver situation is significantly in flux for Thursday, that Thanksgiving Day game. We saw Michael Gallup see 24% of targets, Cedric Wilson see 17%, Dalton Schultz see 19, Zeke 14, and Pollard 4, which I just don't understand. Pollard is such an electrifying playmaker every time he has the ball in his hands. I imagine that role steps up a little bit, but ultimately it was Gallup who led the team in receiving 10 targets, 5 catches, 44 yards. Pretty meh. 4 catches and 36 yards for Cedric Wilson. Nobody did a whole ton here, but these guys, you kind of can practice now with these two as your lead 1 and 2. After CeeDee Lamb had a concussion, he's expected to miss the game. We know Amari Cooper's unvaccinated and will also miss the game. So I imagine Gallup will be right there in the quality wide receiver 2s. And Cedric Wilson, maybe a streamer for those of you desperate for a plug and play for Thursday against a beatable Vegas secondary here. Not bad, but Dak, yes, sucked, as we already talked about. 189, 36 throws. I imagine that's going to improve, though, for this game. We'll see.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who we probably should have talked about when we talked about Diontae, same receiving cord. But anyway, he only had 4 catches, but he was targeted 10 times. And he did go for 123 yards and a score. Of course, a lot of that came on that big 75-yard catch that he had in the fourth quarter of that game. MVS probably benefited by the fact that Allen Lazard was inactive. But still, I mean, it seems like everybody on the Packers ate, basically.
Yeah, 32% target share is no joke. I imagine when Lazard does return, that will steady out a little bit, but definitely a flyer worth taking on games where you think the shootout potential is there. Emanuel Sanders, I mean, he was a must start for the first 6 games, 15 PPR points per game to begin the year. He's now down to 5.8 PPR points across his last 4. Yet another dud, 3 catches on 5 targets, 26 yards. I need to start ranking him with this in mind. Certainly with Dawson Knox seeing 10 targets back in the fold. We'll talk about him in tight ends in a second, but he is just so high variance when the scores aren't happening. He's now up to 9 catches for 118 scoreless yards across his last 4 games. And again, under 6 PPR points on average. It's been bad. It's unusable at this point. Certainly needs to find benches moving forward until we see if it turns around. I'm not positive it will.
Rondell Moore targeted 11 times, caught them all. Only 51 yards. That's kind of weird, but still 11 catches in half PPR or full PPR in fantasies, a pretty big deal. 11 out of 11, nothing to sneeze at. 51 yards, meh, no touchdowns, whatever. Still a pretty interesting game.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Hopkins back maybe as early as this week. I think they're on bye this week. And then week 13, we'll see. I imagine Hopkins will be back, and I don't think we'll ever see another 11-target day, but just intriguing usage, again, for this rookie class that's shining right now. Nick Westbrook-Akeen, 7 catches, 107 yards, the only maybe positive for the entire Titans organization on Sunday, was clear-cut number 1 guy with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones out, and should those guys miss the time, A.J. Brown did suffer a hand injury as well as a chest injury. They think neither one is serious, and they could be back as early as Sunday, but should he not be, we'll see Nick Westbrook potentially sign. We also did see Des Fitzpatrick, rookie, catch his first NFL touchdown, so he might be on the streaming radar as well. But this Nick Westbrook, whoever, would be my number 1 option for the Titans right now.
Rashad Bateman had a pretty forgettable game, drawing only a 16.7% target share, despite the fact that Hollywood did not play. 3 out of 6 targets, or 3 catches on 6 targets for 29 yards. The Ravens did win that game. I'm not too concerned. Lamar didn't play. I'd say move on.
I think the same thing, but it was just still discouraging.
I mean, it was a crap.
Everybody calling for Rashad Bateman week, myself included. Didn't happen. Pretty sad about it. Jamar Chase, as good as the guy is, this is pretty discouraging. You'd be shocked. Wide receiver 26, wide receiver 39, and now wide receiver 23 on the week so far. Actually down to wide receiver 24, given that Claypool and Diontae Johnson both had better days. 32 yards and a score. So, I mean, he does score all the time. But, man, his all season, his expected fantasy points are Guy Jackson, one of the best articles we do. Jamar Chase has been pretty low. He's actually below T. Higgins in terms of team expected fantasy points, given a low target share. He just has made so much happen. One of the most efficient receiving seasons we've ever seen. But is that efficiency starting to come back? He's been averaging over 9 fantasy points above expectation. But these last few weeks, it seems like he hasn't been quite the efficient monster we had seen earlier. I still think he's a monster. You're never going to take him out of lineups, but was probably a decent sell high while you could have a few weeks ago. Now you're probably just stuck riding out whatever happens.
It's official. Nicole Hardman is a part-time player.
Yeah.
2 catches on 3 targets, 25 yards. He only ran a pass route on about a 1/6 of Patrick Mahomes' drop back passes. If you were wondering if he's been demoted, it seems like he's been demoted.
Yeah, 100%. Byron Pringle running ahead of him. Anytime you're below something named Byron Pringle, that's not good for your life stock total. Tight ends moving forward, and these are the last. We have 5 names to cover. This will go really fast, and then we will spend the last 25, 30 minutes, however many. We're up to nearly 50 questions. Love it, Wolfpack. Get them all in there. Shout out who won you the weeks. Shout out who blew you the weeks, and bitch them on out. Use us as your therapist. Who cares? We're here for you. And also, of course, if you have questions, get them on in. We'll start with Darren Waller. We talked about how this guy has been pretty disappointing as a whole, but he finally had yet another game. His only 3rd time above 12 fantasy points on the year, but nice to see. 7 catches, 116 yards. All my teams with Darren Waller suddenly won. It's nice when you finally get reminded why you took this guy in the 2nd round. I think you got it. It's one of those guys, as soon as you see it, it's like, okay, the squeaky wheel's getting greased, and I hope so moving forward. This is the case. Those 8 targets were the highest he's seen since, I believe, week 1. Let's hope this continues to move forward. An easy shootout matchup against Dallas. Can't wait to see what he does on Thanksgiving Day.
Travis Kelce also targeted 8 times. He hauled in 5 of them for 74 yards. He also had a rushing touchdown from a couple yards out, which I happened to see that play. It was a pretty well drawn up play. It fooled me. And he went right in, and it's just like, okay, as if Kelce doesn't score doing enough stuff, we're going to rush him now every now and then too. This is just a pretty typical game for the top tight end in fantasy.
Yeah. I got to shout out the Roto World blurbs. It's one of my favorite resources in fantasy. Their quick hit analysis. And every now and again, they'll work in these little lines that give you a good fantasy chuckle.
Oh, what do they say?
Travis Kelce had his weekly drop pass and weekly sideline helmet slam, along with another elongated stare at the hands that betrayed him. I just love it.
He did have all those things. It's true.
The weekly helmet slam, the stare at the hands, the elongated slam. Well done, Roto World. I really appreciate those types of little nuggets to work in. Dawson Knox, though, back to the fantasy goodness. I had a monster game yet again. 10 targets, held in 6 of them for 80 yards. Didn't score, which has kind of been his calling cards all year, but seeing 26% target share. That's beautiful stuff. I think he's right back into. He was our higher of the week for tight ends, and he showed why right away. Definitely in your top 5 moving forward each and every week. What about this guy? We got Dawson Knox right as our higher. I called this guy our lower.
Go ahead.
Pretty good day.
Who, Zach?
Yeah, Zach.
Zach Ertz, 8 catches, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 7 total first downs or touchdowns. Not too shabby. It was easily his most productive game of the season. Keep in mind, on that same offense, Rondale Moore had 11 catches. So, I mean, the ball was getting spread around. Ertz, huge part of the passing offense. Huge chunk of that aerial pie.
We will see if that continues with D-Hop back. I suspect no. I also got pretty lucky because he got a 2-yard score after Connor was stuffed on the 1-yard line. So it would have been a good day, but it turned into an excellent day because of that. Yep. So something to note. Pat Freiermuth did have another touchdown, just a red zone monster. Only 11 yards on 4 catches, 7 targets. Also very was the fact that they both, Freiermuth and Eric Ebron, tied with 51% route rates. Ebron was more productive with 24 yards in a score, but he also got hurt. And so that's kind of the reason he's on here, is he suffered a knee injury. We don't know how serious it is. His status definitely needs to be monitored for week 12. And of course, if he can't go, Freiermuth's already been, he was my tight end 8 this last week, and he paid that off. He was in the top 10 because of the tight end, the touchdown he scored would be that much higher if he does get the lone role moving forward in week 12.
All right, Adam Troutman out 4 to 6 weeks with a sprained MCL. Too bad. He was kind of a borderline start, right?
Yeah, he was our Hail Mary of the week, and he had 5 catches, 58 yards, and a TD. Looked really solid after seeing, 17, 16, 18, then 22% target share. So we had him on here to highlight him as an up. And then right as we were getting on live, Schefter tweets out 4 to 6 weeks, probably done for your fantasy regular season and rest of the season. Not that anybody even rostered him, but he was going to be one of the more popular pickups. Maybe to replace a guy like Dan Arnold, who had become one of the highest floor, 20%.
That's another guy we've been high on. We've been high on him too, man.
He had been dominating, and he pulled a 0 target day, the dreaded dash. Nothing worse than you don't even see target on there. He just
the Hawkinson
dash. Oh, the worst. He did run 75% of the routes, 65% of the snaps. He was in there.
A good workout anyway.
Exactly. Got a good light jog in there. And just to quickly hit some injuries, CeeDee Lamb is probably not going to play in week 12. A.J. Brown did avoid a serious injury, so probably likely to go, but we'll monitor that. Fields did avoid broken ribs, but Andy Dalton kind of moved that offense better. I imagine they'll play it a little slow with him on Thanksgiving. Landry aggravated his knee injury after having his probably best day of the season since week 1. Pretty sketchy now moving forward. Jordan Howard also suffered a knee sprain. That's big for Miles Sanders. Boston Scott, and maybe even Gainwell getting activated again, but he's with a distant third and a healthy scratch this week. Nothing serious. And then I'm going to have to start finding a new Hail Mary every week, given that Jamal Agnew is out, sadly, to see. He was dominating usage early on. Looked like he might be paying out as a Hail Mary. Didn't happen. And last but not least, a guy on a lot of waiver wires right now, Logan Thomas, was a top 5 tight end for a reason entering the year. Could walk right into it with RSJ hurt. I could see Logan Thomas ending the season as a nice top 8 option each and every week moving forward. So check your waiver wire, see if he's still out there. All righty, folks. We got 60 questions. Love to see that on a Monday. So let us now hit.
Let's hit the mailbag. Give us a like or a love or whatever currency your social media app deals in. Before we get into it, Kevin Barrett, he's throwing $2 our way, and he wants to know, would Dak be worse if his pronouns were they, them?
Significant downgrade to anybody, though. Yes, definite downgrade. Tough game for him for sure. We have to be politically correct, so I will say no more on the issue, but I would downgrade him. What about you, Truth?
I just think it would. I'd just love to hear the backstory behind it.
I wonder what that question is. Like, what does that even happen?
Is that something that's been discussed?
I don't think so. Is it? I
hadn't heard it. It was a great question, though.
Interesting.
Question. And thanks for the $2. We appreciate it.
Let us know, Kevin. And thanks for supporting the site. Anybody else out there that wants to, Super Chat is a great, easy way. But the free way is, of course, that thumbs up button. And if you're new, and I see some new names already in here, if you haven't already subbed and hit that bell so you know when we're live moving forward, it would be greatly appreciated. All righty, let's get on to the top.
We definitely appreciate you gave us $2 just to make us laugh. So thanks.
Yeah.
Denny says, Wolf and Truth, what's good, fellas? Nothing on my end's good, Denny. Hurt so good. Yeah, he was. He hurt me.
He did it to Truth.
It wasn't good.
He hurt the Truth very good. Yeah.
The thing is, look, I got hurt so many ways, though. I didn't really even specifically notice that guy. DJ Johnson, happy Monday, boys. Happy Monday, DJ.
Great to see you, DJ. Beverly legend over there. Love
Mitch says, I need Brady to stay under 30, and I've got this. Probably. I mean, it could be like
bad
a big
Giants defense.
Yeah, it's just the Bucks. It's hard to bank on them too much. It's one of those things where we had to see it. Remember, it was the same thing with Mahomes. We were like, nah, I got to see it at this point. But then when he showed it, he really showed it to us.
Yeah,
so.
Brady's got, I think, 2 or 3 games above 30 already this year. So you're not out of the weeds yet, Mitch. It's an easy matchup. That's more so is Daniel Jones going to keep it competitive enough that they have to keep throwing. He
could do it.
Could happen. I'd give you an 87% chance of winning. I'd give Brady like 10% or so chance of hitting 30 tonight. Agree.
Daniel says JT and JJ have.
I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but I'm guessing JT just
Jonathan Taylor,
a huge cock.
Justin Jefferson, gone over 30 points.
They have what? Fill in the blanks and fire hoses in the pants. Like I don't know.
They've got that it factor that people talk about. Mahmoud says Wolf and the Truth are a must start every time. Thanks, dude.
Great to see you, Mahmoud. Thanks for showing up. We appreciate your kind words indeed.
Denny Jennings, Hurts carried me this week. I also need 12 from Lenny Fournette for a high score of the week. Boom.
Good luck. Do you get paid out for that, Denny? I'm in the contention for a high scorer tonight, depending on what Evans does. We get like $60. I wouldn't hate that. I haven't got it all year. So I would love to get my first one tonight. We will see.
High scorer of the year in my league gets a payout. And it was me all year. And I had a pretty good lead. And that's over now. Because of this. It's over. Denny Jennings. Eagles have the easiest schedule going forward. Wow.
They have a cakewalk.
There's a lot of reasons.
Like there's no reason. What exactly? I wrote it down earlier. The cakewalk that they have. He has by far the easiest. I tweeted this out a couple weeks ago for playoffs, for rest of season. Everything is just a joke for them moving forward. It is the Giants joke, Jets joke, football team most points allowed to quarterbacks, Giants again. Oh, another joke yet again, and then football team again. An absolutely abysmal run of defenses. Oh yeah, this isn't going to stop. Hurts is going to continue to roll. The Eagles could just continue to roll into the playoffs. The only reason I'm happy about that is just for you, Denny, because otherwise I hate the Eagles. But
me too. Same reason.
Good for you.
Seamus. Always great to hear from Seamus. Hey, boys. Hey, love your Monday show. Fireworks. Boom. Although I'll probably be 10-1 and 9-2 after tonight. I'm already in the playoffs. I'm still well ahead in first. Thank you for the help. Yeah. Anytime, dude.
He was 10-0 entering the week, and now Seamus is complaining he has to taste his first loss. So sorry, Seamus, that you got a loss. But, man, I love it. There's not a more consistently dominant fantasy player out there than Seamus J. Timberlake. That's our pride and joy right there. Like, he's better than he does it himself, but I just love that we're a part of it.
He's just a much more flashy and flamboyant Bill Belichick.
Amazing.
That's all.
Yeah.
Grind don't stop. No practice for Kamara today. Any chance he plays on Turkey Day?
So the one thing with the Monday inactives in practice, those are all estimated reports. So there's no like sure thing of whether he would have practiced or not. They're just estimating he wouldn't have. So tomorrow will be the real tell. Grind don't stop. My guess is he doesn't. They don't have much to play for. I guess they are 500. They could still squeak into the playoffs. My guess is he doesn't. But hey, we'll find out more tomorrow. It's tough to judge on this one.
Daniel Hallen, I had JT and JJ for the win. Great show, guys. Hit that like button, everybody. Please.
There's some teams in my league that just those two guys would have outscored the entire roster of some of the people in my league.
It probably would have outscored me. I'm not even kidding. Robert Moreno, as a Raiders fan, please don't remind me of that Jamal Charles game. Robert, I have to. It's all I have to hold on to.
I still have nightmares of it as a fantasy fan that literally just lost like everything because of it. It was awful.
Grind don't stop with Jamal out. Agnew now on IR. Would LaVisca be worth rostering?
I mean, it's never going to happen. But how many times have we said that? If it's going to happen, well, now, Travis Etienne's out. If it's going to happen, freaking DJ Chark's out. If it's going to happen, Agnew's out. Like, we have to go to the Agnew for this guy to actually happen. I don't think it's happening. He just might not be that good of a player. Maybe he is. Maybe it's quarter.
I know. I've been saying that all year.
It's not going to happen on this team, in my opinion.
Saquon finally back. Thank the Lord. Yeah.
Indeed, Lord. Definitely.
Robert says, Wolf, thanks for the last-minute advice yesterday on adding Elijah Moore. Although he was on my bench, it did not cost me the victory this week thanks to Jefferson. You think Moore is QB dependent, or is he the real deal no matter who is throwing to him? As long as it's not Zach Wilson, dude.
Exactly. He's got a touchdown from every QB on the Jets other than Zach Wilson. I think at this point, too, even when Wilson comes back, like Moore has been so dominant. How do you go backwards from this point? It's just crazy that your biggest concern is your number 2 pick. Like, that's the biggest concern for his fantasy value. But yeah, I think he's going to dominate. He's probably a lineup lock here on out, in my opinion.
Grind don't stop. Truth. Not looking too good for Darrell Williams with Clyde back. Grind don't stop. I am miserable.
Yeah, that sucks. He's cut bait at this point.
He's not cut. I have to keep him. I mean, there's nothing on waivers and my team. He's going to stay on my team. Hopefully I don't have to start him, but I'm stuck with the guy. Robert Moreno, I benched Moore because of the Bateman hype we all had here. I played Rashad instead. Sorry, dude.
Sorry, Moreno. It sounds like you got the win anyways, so I'm glad. But yeah, the Bateman hype, we were all getting horny for Bateman on Sunday, and it clearly didn't pan out.
We were the Grand Marshal. Us and Grind Don't Stop were the marshals
of
the Bateman parade. We had I was the Grand whatever.
The Macy's parade on Thursday. Yeah. You just have Grind Don't Stop holding the
guy with the top hat and the cane in the front of the parade.
Yeah, Rashad Bateman float behind him like a Rashad Bateman balloon. Yeah.
That would be dude, we have got to get somebody who can video edit and stuff to be able to produce something like that for us.
That'd be awesome.
Doesn't have to be about this, but it could be about anything. Anytime one of us is really hyping somebody up, just a big balloon float of that person with us marching in front of it. Jeremiah Moore, dubs in all my important leagues. Good job. And he also says Cam is a riser. No argument.
All good points that we hit. Yeah, man. And pumped to hear you got the wins, Jeremiah.
Grind don't stop. Wolf, I decided to bench the Bills defense in favor of Cleveland last minute. Good call. Yep.
I like that people are coming in and patting us on the back because I feel like I only hear about it when I get it wrong. It's kind of like the offensive line. You don't know them until they do something fucked up.
Right.
And that's how
I've always hated that offensive line.
So I'll take it. I'll take the compliments today because I certainly made some bad calls for some important people this week. So I like that I got some wins for other people at least. That's good.
Craig says, sup, boys. Had JT and Echoler. Also had Herbert, Debo, Diontae, and Kittle. I have 186 points with Godwin still left in a half-point PPR. As Ice Cube said, today was a good day. And I also am going to assume that nobody you knew got killed in South Central LA. Making it an even better day.
Even better day. Half PPR to break 200 in half PPR. I've only done it once. I hope that Godwin can carry you to that only needed 15 from him. Crack that 200. I hope so, Sarna.
Yeah, I'm pulling for you. Grind don't stop. Defense you'd rather have rest of the season: Chiefs, Bills, or Cardinals?
Oh, I don't do rest of season defense questions. I always
That's
stream,
true.
so it depends on who the matchups are. I haven't done that much research into knowing if any of those guys have like great rest of season matchups. I do know the Bills get the Pats twice, and that offense is cooking. So it's not the Bills for me. And the Chiefs do look pretty good, but either way, I don't think there's ever a rest of season defense that you must play. So I love you, Grind, but that's not what I'm going to entertain.
Solid,
Yeah.
Craig Sarno. Yeah.
Solid indeed for Sarno. Indeed.
Brandon said, would you trade CEH and Gronk away to get Waller? I would not.
That's a close one, but no, I don't think I would either. I know Waller's coming off that great game, but I do think CEH moving forward is a quality running back too, given what we saw this last week. And Gronk, as long as he's out there, is as good as Waller in like fantasy points wise. Not as high of a target total every week, but touchdown wise, he's a monster. So I think I hold tight, Brandon.
Grind don't stop. Wow, Eli Moore, league-winning wide receiver at this point.
Yeah. I just wish I had better patience with him. This happens to me every time with my rookie receivers. I get a little bit too trigger happy when I don't see him produce for a few weeks. And I just needed the bench spot. It looked like that was never going to pan out for Eli Moore. I actually cut him for Rashad Bateman, which I was loving at first. Now, not so much. Eli Moore, definitely a potential league winner here down the stretch. No doubt about it.
And he says Freeman's the man in Baltimore rest of the season. It looks like you're probably right.
22-12, only a two-back nightmare. And he's clear-cut the lead guy. He had over 20 PPR points. Yeah, he's definitely a weekly starting consideration. Love to see one rock back. Good to see you, brother.
Mixon and Justin Jefferson's performances coupled with Patty Mahomes' stinker leaves me as a favorite over the Jonathan Taylor owner heading into Monday Night Football. Good job, man.
Wow. So there should be t-shirts like I played Jonathan Taylor in week 9.
I survived week 12 or whatever. Right,
exactly. I survived week 11 Jonathan Taylor. That you're probably in like 5% of people out there that could survive that type of thing. So good for you, man. Congrats, One Rock. That's awesome.
Matt Feeney, I was losing my week with Moore on my bench. I thought it was over. Then Mike Williams came in to save my day. Ended up winning by 2 points on that last play. Learned my lesson. Eli Moore to the moon. Good for you.
To the moon, indeed, baby. Love to see it. Eli, One Rock complimenting you. So it could be boom or bust. As he points out, I feel like One Rock is like just reads my mind and types it into the chat here because I am concerned when Wilson comes back, it could get boom bust. I just still think he's too damn good and he's been too good. The wide receiver one since week 8. I don't think that's going to go anywhere fast. So yeah, I think that's here to stay no matter what.
Troy says, Mikey will finally. Yeah, I agree. It was too little too late for me. I was happy to see it, but it's like, oh, you lose by 30 instead of by 50. Good job. Right.
Nice. Softens the blow for you. But yeah, it was good to see. Still concerned it was only 6 targets, though. That's still the rub there with that.
One Rock says Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the league. Don't at me. LOL.
Yeah, playing on the other side of Devontae. He had the better game. They both were great. But as you said, 2 plays away from 204 TDs. I mean, yeah, it was a monster performance that could have been that much bigger, One Rock. So yeah, I got to say this too. You found us this week, One Rock. We must have been your good luck charm. So there you go. You're welcome. It's not your fantasy skill. It's this show where you're good. Awesome stuff, One Rock. I'm glad you survived, and we're happy to have you here. It's interacting with everybody.
Troy picked up Jamar Chase for Michael Carter and Judy before Carter got hurt. Yeah.
Even before Carter got hurt, it was a dub. But now that Carter's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks, it's that much of a bigger dub. So yeah, Troy, definite dub for you, no doubt about it.
One Rock says Justin Jefferson tackled at the half-yard line, and then Cousins on the pick missed him streaking wide open in the end zone. I'm just picturing him streaking in the end zone.
Yeah, naked running into the end
zone. We're going streaking.
Yeah, doing what's that dance? The gritty, just completely ass naked. Would be great. Indeed. Week 15, Jets play at Miami, so fire up Miami defense. Yeah, definitely at home. I mean, are you really going to stash Miami's defense for the next 4 weeks?
Just to be clear, I picked up Miami's defense, and they played the Jets this week, and they didn't do much for me. I think I got like 4 points. So
I think he's saying because Flacco played, now Wilson will be there. It'll be a better. Are they really going to go back to Wilson?
I think that's a stretch.
Let's put it this way. I'm not stashing a pretty bad defense, actually very bad defense in general for 4 weeks in hopes that Wilson's playing. Like, I get it, One Rock. If you have that deep of a roster, go for it. I would have a very hard time.
Can I just say,
better way to use your
when
roster.
Miami played the Ravens a couple weeks ago, their defense looked like the best defense on the planet. Like I've never seen. They were flying around like crazy. So I was like, oh, that's a team that's going to destroy the Jets. Not really.
Nope.
Anyway,
not at all. Titans are -5 turnover. Yeah, you're never going to win with that.
Trey, Wolfpack. Yes.
Great to see you, Trey. Yes, welcome back in.
Early Super Bowl prediction. Who's your Super Bowl prediction?
I mean, come on, Pats winning the whole thing. I really don't think it's unrealistic anymore.
It's not crazy.
I still really think AFC Championship. I think it's going to be Chiefs Pats. I think it's going to be in Foxborough, which gives us a better shot. I'm going to go Pats are going to be facing the NFC's where it gets a little bit more up in the air. I honestly, I know this week wouldn't suggest it, but I think the Cowboys are a very complete team when everything is there and they're healthy and ready to roll. I don't know Mike McCarthy's good enough to get them to the Super Bowl. I'm going to go Pats Cowboys, though, with the Pats ultimately winning. What do you think now?
I have no idea, but at the end of the first quarter of the season, so like 4 weeks ago, maybe, I said Rams Bills. And how crazy does that look now?
I know. Seriously. Maybe the Rams can hold up that end of the bargain.
We'll see.
Maybe the Bills can. Like
I'm gonna stick with it just because I can't think of anybody else really jumping out. The Packers seem really good, but I just don't believe. I got to see if the Bucks look awesome tonight, maybe I'll jump off and jump back onto the Bucks.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm just hoping the Pats. I mean, what a pretty big gauntlet coming up. You got the Titans, who they coming off a bad loss to the Texans, but Belichick's never beat Vrabel since he's been a head coach, so that's a big test. You got the Bills twice in the next 4 weeks. You have the Colts who just smoked the Bills. So if we can, like hypothetically, we won 5 straight. Let's say we win out. Like that, how do you carry more momentum than that? They'd probably be the number 1 seed in the AFC. They'd have home field advantage throughout. This is all hypothetical and
right.
Thoughts, but I don't see any reason they can't pull that off. So I'm going with my Pats, baby. I'm feeling really good. Titans crumble with I could see that for sure.
Wolf, I think it's time for you to go rapid fire because didn't we get hit with an 8:15 start last time when we were going for 8:20?
Yeah, I think we did. The good thing with Monday night is it's not lot of sit starts. It's just like a lot of here's who won for me. There's not much needed. Like it's very hard to have a decision on Monday night.
That's true. So let's just keep going.
We'll go a little leisurely here. Zeke's dealing with some injuries, so maybe Pollard. Yeah, absolutely. Tyron Smith, that's a really good point. Like what an anchor. It's very clear every time they don't have him, like how that's going to be.
Right. Grind on Stop said this actually might be the week I consider benching Sanders for Van Jefferson. Thoughts? It's not crazy.
No, you got Manny Sanders in a revenge game on Thanksgiving, which I kind of like. I don't know. Do you know off the top of your head who Stafford's coming back to play this week? I know he's your QB, so I don't know.
No, I don't.
I don't know the matchup, so I can't say confidently there.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rondale's still definitely, I agree, part-time player in terms of I think this is fool's gold, but just interesting to see 11 catches on 11 targets for the guy.
The Rams are playing at Green Bay.
That's pretty interesting, though. That could have a little juice upside there. I kind of like Van. Yeah, I think I might lean that way.
All right, don't stop. We can talk more Bateman once Lamar returns from that illness. I agree.
You get your float out, get your balloon inflated. We'll get the parade going again.
Robert says, Cream Hunt coming off my IR soon. Hopefully, I'm going to have to drop someone between Dawson Knox, Manny Sanders, and Jeff Wilson. I am leaning Sanders. Thoughts?
I think so, too. I mean, Wilson, it depends on where Eli Mitchell's status is at and what's happening there. So as soon as you know, we can give you a better answer. But I'd say Sanders. It depends on your receiver situation, too. But, yeah, he's looking droppable at this point. It's gross. It's definitely gross for sure. 2 to 3 weeks for Carter, as we said. Yep, Denny. Yep. Absolutely.
One Rock, totally agree about Rondale. Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
With Ebron back, Freiermuth seated snaps and roots. Tough for Freiermuth to be a tight end 1 with Ebron. Yeah,
it's true. 51% for exactly both of them. But Ebron did suffer that knee injury, so that happened. AJB, garbage time would have been beautiful. That's a good point. One Rock would have been a monster, I'm sure, but got hurt.
Is there anything Clyde does better than Darrell besides running a faster 40 time? I would say he gets injured better.
Yeah, right. I don't even know if he has that much of a faster 40 time either. Clyde didn't blow the doors off his 40, so that's an interesting one indeed.
Matt, pumped for the tight end rankings this week. I have Henry, Freiermuth, Logan Thomas, and a jumbled mind.
I'll probably be leaning Henry there. Unless we get word that Ebron's 100% out, then Freiermuth would potentially be there. We'll see.
Denny says you get $50 for being the high scorer each week.
There you go. That's a nice pretty penny indeed.
Grind on stop. Who to target off waivers, Ty Johnson or Coleman?
I prefer Ty. He's been the first man up all year ahead of him. So that's where I lean. I'll definitely have some more waiver wire analysis for you guys, though, tomorrow, as we always do on Tuesdays.
Kevin says, thanks, guys. Much respect. Thank you.
Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate you giving us a chuckle and supporting the site, man.
Denny says A-Rod probably out this week with an ingrown hair on his big toe.
Yep. Seems about right for sure.
Well, we will definitely be hearing about it if that happens. Wolf, every time I belched or farted today, I tasted and smelled Jägermeister.
That just sounds repulsive. Like, I imagine the world around you just like, oh, this disgusting Jägermeister smell. I haven't had Jägermeister since I was in like college, and for a reason.
Me too.
Right. The damage it does to your body for the next like 4 days. Good luck getting through it, Denny. I love it though. You're the man. Fucking awesome.
William said, I got offered Elijah Moore for Sterling Shepard. I assume I take this deal by the sound of things.
Oh, yeah. Please take Elijah Moore now. Don't let that deal get by you. Please accept yes.
Patrick says, do you think Aaron Rodgers would throw the ball harder if he was vaccinated? Well, he is immunized. So
yeah, he's just as good as vaccinated, right? No, he's dealing with something worse than turf toe. Yeah, so right. No.
What are some things worse than turf toe? Let's talk, like having the clap.
Yeah, what? He's got STDs and turf toe. That's what he was referring to. Yeah, seriously.
That's worse.
He's
worse. Like, I'm not going to say what I've got, but it's worse than turf toe.
Yeah,
grind, don't stop. It could be like a broken neck. Glad to have Judy back this week. High expectations rest of the season. Yeah, but I am really skeptical of anybody on Denver right now.
It's just exactly like Bridgewater can't sustain 3 great receivers. Judy has been the one getting peppered like deliberately.
Yeah, he's the best guy, but like it's just like Brandon Cooks is the best guy in Houston.
Yeah, it's and it's a more crowded situation there too. Sutton getting a big extension. Like, I love Judy as a player.
Tim Patrick just signed a 3-year deal.
Right. It'll be really interesting when Aaron Rodgers goes there next year. When he has Sutton, Judy, and Patrick. That's going to be beautiful. Can't wait to see that. Yeah.
Hope that toe heals up by next season. One rock. I'm not saying stash the Miami defense, LOL. Just to revisit in week 15, defenses have generally eaten versus Wilson. All right,
yeah, maybe week 14 too. If you know you're going to get in, you stash them at a time. But yeah, you can't hang on to them this long. I can't imagine that people are going to be, you could probably get them in week 14. Good point, One Rock. Indeed. Wilson, yeah, the most points allowed to defenses was Zach Wilson's Jets.
Denny says, thanks, guys. You're the best.
As are you, Denny. The
One rock. Jägermeister in college. Those were the days. LOL. Yeah.
All you could say, you could either laugh or cry when you
look back at him. Yeah, I look back at him like kind of fondly. Well, like kind of. Anyway,
they make me sick when I think back to them.
Yeah, that's why it's like
and want to puke.
I miss hanging out with my friends and stuff, but it's like I don't look back and then be like, "Oh, that was awesome."
I wish I could have more Jägermeister in my life. Good for Denny to keep that rolling.
Ryan, should I keep Herbert or trade him for Mahomes? PPR league.
I'd probably rather have Mahomes and just hope he hits a ceiling, but it's pretty lateral move there too, Ryan. I don't know. And 2 runs, both the Bucs receivers. Well, let's go get and watching that. Truth. RoseRejournal.com is where we breed and feed you fantasy wolves. You can find all our rankings, written content, all that good stuff there, and in your iOS app. I'll be live. I actually don't know the exact schedule, so I'll tweet it out at RotoStreetWolf when I know the exact schedule. Me and you got to link up, Truth, and figure out, what days you can go, what days can I go. It was this time last year, if I'm not mistaken, we went early on a Wednesday and got bombarded by the YouTube kids.
Was that this? I think that was 2 years ago.
It was either, I think it was last year on Thanksgiving, right at the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And we're like, what the hell?
All right. Well, maybe we'll run it back. We'll see.
Let's run it back and hope the kitty boppers are back out in town. We'll find out. Right. But thank you guys for being here. It is true. A little bit boom bust. Absolutely. Appreciate the views. We appreciate you guys being here. On your way out, if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up. And certainly if you aren't subbed to the channel, we're very close to that 2K goal. We're less than 100 away. Got another couple weeks left in November. Would love to get there. So keep helping us out, Wolfpack. Thanks again so much. I'm the Wolf.
I'm the Truth.
Wolf full of fancy sheep. Be that wolf, guys. Later.